Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this rifle that you see in front of me right now. This is the Daniel Defense Delta 5 rifle, and this is their first run, first stab, if you will, at the precision / tactical bolt action market. And it comes in a number of different calibers. We'll get into that here in a good bit of detail. But this was introduced, I believe, at SHOT Show of 2019. So fast forward a full year. I've had mine in now for about 6 months. We have about 800 rounds through it total. Not a ton, but enough that I think I can give you some pretty good feedback. At least I think we can anyway. But this one here is chambered in 6.5 as it sits right now. But as we'll discuss later on, it's pretty easy to swap calibers on this for a couple different reasons in the way they actually design the rifle. But what we're going to do first is step back out to the range and see what kind of groups we can get out of this cold hammer forged barrel. And then we're going to come back here and sort of discuss all the different features of the rifle. Now we're going to shoot a few loads through it. In the gun right now we have some 140 grain Hornady ammo, and on the gun we have the EOTech. This is their Voodoo 5-25 scope. So far it's been awesome, big fan of it. Out on the end, Bowers Group Verse 30T, so it's a titanium suppressor, which is nice, and target down range at 100 yards. That's pretty much it. Let's see what we can do. It's interesting. I've shot that load a good bit, and in this rifle, I shot at 600 the other day. It might have already, that footage may be in the intro. I shot at 600 and got a 5-inch group. We had no wind that day, which we really don't have today either, for that matter, which is good. Up next, guys, some Federal. This is the 6.5 Creedmoor with the gold medal Burger bullet. It's 130 grain hybrid open tip match. The Burger bullets are pretty good, generally speaking, so we'll see how it does in this barrel. Looks like a pretty good group, which I expected. Next up, we have some Winchester. This is our 6.5 Creedmoor load. Obviously, it's a lighter load, 125 grains. And it's got the open tip range bullet. I have no idea what that means. We'll see how it shoots. Kind of wondering if that first shot was just me. I don't know. I wonder if I send another one. Let's see. Maybe not. One thing's for sure, I had way too much caffeine today to be out here shooting. Is what it is. All right, guys. The last group will be fired with the Remington. This is their core locked ammo. So it is 140 grain, but it is designed for hunting, so probably not going to be the most accurate, but you never know. Sometimes they say that in these tests and it is the most accurate, but we shall see. Core lock bullet's been around a long time. Put a lot of meat on the table in America in various calibers, so we'll see how this one does. Let's go check them out. Once again, first group was the Hornady 140 grainers, and again, I've shot that much better than that in the past. We're right there at 1 1/8 inches on that one. Then we came over here with the Burger. I think that one's gonna win. We'll see. That one's definitely 7 MOA. Center to center there, we're right at 3/4 of an inch on that one. Then we came over here, had that weirdo kind of round that I thought might have been a flyer, but now I don't really think it is. And with the Winchester, we're at 1.3, 1.75 there on that one. And then the hunting load, we're definitely under an inch there. Total size, right at about 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch center to center. So, you know, obviously everything's load dependent, but this thing has been a laser so far from practical purposes, because that is what I use it for with practice. I buy the big ammo cans, or rather order, I should say, from LAX Ammo. And either way, that's what we got. We're going with it. As longtime viewers of the channel know, we don't reshoot groups here. It kind of is what it is, and we had decent results there for sure. I was at an industry day a few months ago at this point. Now we shot this one in 6.5 Creedmoor, not this gun, a different gun, but still the Delta 5. And I was able to shoot 2 back-to-back half-inch groups with it, consistently 5-shot with some Federal ammo. I don't remember which. It might have been the Burger. But either way, one thing that a lot of you guys who are into precision know, you definitely got to find the right load for your barrel and what it likes, because every barrel is a unique animal. And then additionally, if you're hand loaders out there, you can really kind of tweak that down and get those groups even smaller. If you guys are hand loaders, put those recipes down below in the comments section, the ones that you found work best for your barrels, because I'm sure other folks would be interested in that as well. But barrel, a lot of interesting things going on out here. At the end, we do have 5/8 muzzle thread, so any of your common suppressors, muzzle brakes, etc. will fit just fine. It does come with a thread protector for those of you guys that just want to run it as is. That, of course, will protect your gun should you have an impact out there on the end of the muzzle from having any sort of damage to the crown, and then, of course, subsequent accuracy issues that you could have. Barrel is hammer forged in-house by Daniel Defense. There's a lot of interesting things that go on there. One thing that's different than other places that hammer forge their barrels, at least everyone I'm aware of right now anyway, is that they actually hammer forge the extension in with the barrel itself. And what that does is sort of prevent issues. If 2 different pieces are stress relieved a little bit different, they can cause issues there. You don't have to worry about there because it's all done at the same time. They actually hammer forge the profile as well at the same time, and their profile on this one, I think they call it a H Palma, something like that, whatever the case may be. Daniel Defense did a bunch of testing with different profile barrels, all the way from an H bar down to lightweight, and what they found was with this continuous taper style barrel that we have here, where it's thicker back here at the receiver, and then it sort of tapers down where it's a little bit more lightweight down there at the end. They were able to, and this is their terms, I have no way of verifying this, only have 64% of the weight that your H-bar barrel would have, maintain 95% of the accuracy. So it's sort of a nice balance there between like a bench gun and a hunting gun or a tactical gun, which we'll touch on here a little bit later on in the video as well. But this nut back here for the barrel, that is similar, I guess not exactly the same, but similar in style to what you'd see on an AR-15, and that's so you can quickly change the caliber of the rifle. So this rifle is available in 6.5 Creedmoor like we have here with the 24-inch barrel, 308 with the 20-inch barrel, and then a 7mm variant as well. I think a lot of the hunting guys are going to really dig that 7mm load. And really all you need to do is take a couple screws off, loosen your nut, and it does come with the tool when you purchase it, and then throw your new barrel in there. The barrels aren't that expensive either, so it's a pretty cool option, and one that like a Remington 700 or similar type actions just don't have without specific tools to set the headspace and those sorts of things. You don't need to do that with these, because just like an AR-15 on these barrels, the headspace is set on the extension. Before moving on to the action, I should point out that all the different calibers, their twist rates are sort of heavy for caliber, and that's because Daniel Defense is kind of looking at this as a long range gun, and those heavier bullets tend to do better in that application. So across all the different calibers, they are sort of heavy for caliber. Continuing back, we do have a mechanically bedded stainless steel action with a integral lug on there, or integral recoil lug, I should say. So that's definitely something that a lot of people are looking for in guns in this price range, and Daniel Defense delivers with it. And the actual operating system of the gun is not sort of borrowed by any other system out there. Daniel Defense designed the action from the ground up, so it's got some cool features like I mentioned earlier. The actual stock or chassis, whatever you want to call it, is carbon fiber reinforced polymer, and then up front there we do have M-LOK at the 3 and 6 o'clock position, a couple slots, and then we have a steel M-LOK quick detach sling swivel point here on the left side. Of course, you can move it to any of the different M-LOK slots should you choose to do so. And the steel is important because over long periods of use and many QD attachments and disattachments, I guess you could say. Those aluminum ones will wear down, so the steel will not, at least not as readily anyway. And then all along the bottom there, you guys can see, we do have the M-LOK slot, so you could set up your bipod wherever you want, or anything else on there that you may want to set up there. The actual magazine that it ships with is going to be a 5-round Magpul PMag. These are AI patterns, so any of your Accuracy International pattern mags will work in there. We've used Accuracy International and Magpul throughout the video here. You guys may have seen it already. If not, you will be seeing it here shortly, and have had a grand total of 0 issues with the mags in terms of feeding, so that's good. The bolt throw, right? There's a lot going on here with the bolt throw. So first off, the bolt knob here, that is removable. If you want to remove it and add something with like more knurling or something like that, you can do so. It's very easy to do. I like that feature. You can customize it there. It has a 60-degree bolt throw. So it's a short bolt throw and it's quick. One thing I want to point out here is, just from my shooting experience with this gun, is that I had this gun before they had a recall rather. They had a safety recall because of firing pins potentially breaking. From what I understand, it didn't actually happen in any of them. The engineers thought it could happen, so they recalled it. And when I was shooting with this bolt before the recall, I sent my bolt in before the recall, I would occasionally get some sort of binding with it when running the action. And then once I got the replacement one in probably 3 months ago, I've not had a single case of binding in any way. I say that because with the 60-degree bolt throw, one of the cool things Daniel Defense did with their floating bolt head design is that the actual lug, one of the lugs is at the 12 o'clock position, which creates sort of like almost like an internal rail when you're actually running the action. So that way, at the very rear, there's almost no play, as you guys can see here in the bolt. So when you go to throw it home, you should be able to do so without any sort of binding. So at first, when I got it in, and again, pre-recall, I was a little bit surprised that every now and then I'd have a little bit of binding. And I didn't know what it was, if it was me, if the gun was dirty, or whatever the case may be. But post-recall, it's had none, so I don't know if they've updated it then. I can only report what I've seen so far, but it has a Seiko style extractor and AR-15 style ejector. The ejection has been very positive. If you run this thing hard, it will perform likewise, which certainly is nice. To remove the bolt, you have to actually lower the cheek piece that I have up right now, which we'll get into here in just a second, and actually press the button over here on the left side of the receiver. There you go. If I could actually do it, and there you go. So this one looks pretty new. Again, this is the post recall one, and that's what it looks like there. We do have a 2-position safety, fire and safe, excuse me, and the magazines can easily be removed with the shooting hand not being removed, right-handed or left-handed. On top of the action, we have a 20 MOA scope mounting base. It does come from the factory, and I did check it. It was Loctited. It's one of the little things I always look for there when I'm checking out a rifle. And on top, just for those wondering, right now we have the EOTech. This is the 5-25 scope from them, sitting in some Seekins rings. Now, speaking of rings, the height on this is adjustable. So with this little cheek adjustment piece here, you can adjust how high you want your head position when you're in the firing position. What's interesting about this, a lot of rifles do have this. One thing that's different than some of them out there is it actually allows you to, with the loosening and tightening of these 2 screws here, you can actually change the location of it left or right. So some of you guys that have big fat heads, you might have to move it out to the strong side a little bit to get a little bit more comfortable of a firing position. So if you're sitting on a bolt gun for a long time, you definitely want your natural firing position to be comfortable, because staring through glass for hours at a time in an uncomfortable stock is definitely not where you want to be. The actual grip here on it, so I like it. And then I've heard some criticisms of it that I think are fair. So I like the very vertical nature of it that you guys can see here. And it also has these grooves cut in there on both the right and the left side. And what that's for is so that you have your thumb on your firing side or your strong side. The theory on that is, guys, for those of you that are new, is that if you have your thumb wrapped around as you would with a traditional pistol grip, you would have the tendency, as a right-handed shooter anyway, to pull a little bit back into the right due to the torquing of your hand, and having your thumb in the up position like this eliminates that, at least in theory anyway. Now, the criticism of this, which I think is, again, valid for people who believe in what I just said, is that with the groove in there, it actually gives you some leverage on it. So you can push on there and get a little bit tighter grip on it. And what that does is, of course, it allows you, or perhaps increases the chance you would yank it off to the right, just like having your thumb around there. I've never found that to be the case with my shooting personally. It's just something that I know some folks really get into. My personal take on that, and I do a decent amount of longish range shooting, is that as long as you're consistent, it's not a huge deal. But if you're starting out, I probably would recommend that for guys running a bolt gun, just to keep it over there on the strong side when you come down. It's probably a good habit to have, but if you grew up shooting AKs or ARs or something like that, as long as you're consistent, you'll probably be okay. It has a really good palm swell there, which is nice. I have big hands, as you guys know, and fills them up rather nice and easy. Also, the bolt doesn't come back to the cheek piece. I shouldn't have to say that, but I have had 2 rifles come in over the years that actually would hit it in the right position. So that's nice. If you're on there, you don't want the bolt coming back and smacking you in the face. You want to be able to stay on your glass, so that way you can spot impacts and those sorts of things. Back here beyond the pistol grip, we do have a good relief cut, and this piece, the cheek piece, really does have a good bit of adjustment to it. You can see mine's good and dirty because I don't really clean guns all that often. But yeah, there's a lot of adjustment there, just depending on what scope and rings you're going for. And then additionally, we do have quick detach, again with metal reinforcement on both the right and the left side of the stock. And then the stock, as it comes from the factory, is not going to have these spacing pieces in there. I threw them in there to get it what I thought was most comfortable for me with my length of pull, desired length of pull. And one thing that's cool about these actual inserts is that, unlike, like, say, the Savage system, which is good, it's very similar. Unlike that one though, you don't actually have to remove the butt pad all the way out. All you have to do is pull it far enough out with the 2 screws that are actually in there stock, just loosen it up, and then you can actually slide these in. So it's just a lot quicker to adjust it to your length of pull if you have multiple shooters in the family. It definitely could be an advantage. It's one of those small things that Daniel Defense was definitely thinking about when they set this rig up. Then here on the bottom, we have a couple things going on. So we have the M-LOK slot, if anybody wants to run like a monopod or something like that. And then additionally, we have this relief cut here in the stock, which I might just jack my microphone up right now. But what that's for is so I can come in here and do that. It's very comfortable. I can pull the stock further back in my shoulder without having to do so then with my firing hand. And it just gives you a little bit more leverage on the gun when you start to load that bipod and really want a stable firing position. The trigger on the gun is one of the few things that isn't made in-house by Daniel Defense. It's actually a Timney Elite Hunter trigger on there. It's an adjustable trigger, so I think you can drop it all the way down to like 2.4 pounds, but as it comes from the factory, and as we were shooting it out there for groups, just for what it's worth, it is set at 4 pounds. Now, we'll drop the mag there out of the bottom metal. You guys can see it is clear, and the trigger is great. In my opinion, I have no issues with it in the configuration. As it comes from the factory, a little bit of movement. When you actually apply that 4 pounds, it breaks clean. There's no creep, there's no nothing like that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys who do a lot of precision type bolt action work are gonna wanna drop that weight down. It's super easy to do. Like I said, all you do is remove 2 screws and it exposes the entire chassis of the gun, and action of the gun, I should say. And it's super clean, super crisp. Like I said, there's no issues with it at all, but I know some folks are gonna think it's a little on the heavy side, so if that's you, you can adjust it. At this point, I think we've covered most of the details of the rifle. There's a couple that we didn't cover. Number one is going to be price point. As you expect from Daniel Defense, their stuff's not inexpensive. They don't design it to be inexpensive. And this one shows it, right? So MSRP on this, I believe in all 3 calibers, is right at $2,200. However, street price as of this video, I saw a couple places with it at $1,800 and below. I will put a link down below in the video description or pinned in the comments section for folks who are looking to pick one up. So you're talking, you know, upper 1,000, just under 2,000 street price retail. And there's a lot of great guns in that price point that do very similar things to the Daniel Defense Delta 5. I don't know which one to tell you to get, guys. The gun's been 100% reliable, like I said. A couple times before the new bolt came in, we had the binding, but after that, it completely went away. So I would assume all the new ones are gonna have that and not bind. Again, with the 60-degree bolt throw and the way that the actual lug is oriented at the 12th position, I was surprised that we had any binding at all, so it was good to see it go away. I didn't expect any, but it did happen. Just, I always want to point it out and tell you guys, shoot straight here on the channel rather. But feeding, all that stuff was perfect. There was no ignition issues with primers, nothing like that. All of those things are paramount for either a tactical or a hunting gun. When you want your gun to go bang, you want it to go bang. When you don't want it to go bang, you don't want it to go bang. And Daniel Defense absolutely did that. Had good accuracy. The materials that go into this are excellent. I like the fact that they actually started the action from the ground up. I think that's good. More companies, in my opinion, should do that. Right now, again, this gun's only been out for a year, and there's not a ton of aftermarket accessories for it. That said, I'm not sure what aftermarket accessories you would really need for it, because it does come with pretty much everything that you would accessorize a gun with, or that you would build a gun with if you were building with just an action and a chassis system. So there is that. One thing that I saw in a lot of my social media posts, whenever we'd post about this rifle, is a lot of folks were asking sort of like, what's the purpose, if you will, because like I said, it's got a sort of a medium heavy-ish profile barrel. So it's not lightweight, especially in 6.4. I think it's the most heaviest, or heaviest rather, in 6.4. It's not the lightest weight rifle. So if you're going out and hiking, 10 miles to get to an objective, probably not great in terms of weight. However, it's also not heavy like a bench gun would be, just a dedicated bench gun. So, it's sort of in between. So some folks are going to look at that as being super versatile. Some folks are going to look at that as being non-mission driven or non-purpose driven. You can look at it however you want. I would tell you that for me, if I was going out hunting in a blind or just walking, a mile out, the weight would be a non-issue for me completely, particularly since it has good sling attachment points, and there's a lot of really good slings out there that can distribute that weight pretty darn well. Folks will ask if I don't say it. I don't know if I did already, but this is the Bowers Group Verse 30T can on there. So it's a lightweight titanium can that we've been running. It really hasn't upset the weight at all. And again, guys, all in all, the rifle's performed. Is it the right rifle for you at this price point? I don't know. I can't tell you that. Like I said, I've reviewed a number of guns in this price point that do very similar things. This one does them well. And I think there are some differentiating features of it versus the other competitors out there. But I don't know which one you guys should get. I would tell you, if you like everything you saw in this video, I would buy it confidently at this point. So there's that. If you guys have any questions about the rifle that I didn't cover here in the video, by all means, you can post down below in the comments section. However, I don't always see those comments. So if you actually have a question that you need an answer to, the best place to reach me is over at my Facebook page. I do get back to everybody over there. Sometimes it takes me a few days because there's literally hundreds of thousands of you and only one of me, but I do see the messages over there, so I do get back to folks there. If you're not subscribed, you like this type of video, like I said, I do a lot of videos like this on similar style guns. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. I truly appreciate it very, very much. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video.